Well, it was the duel between the future world champion Alireza Firouzja and the reigning world champion Magnus Carlsen. That's how everyone looked at this game, the ninth round of Tata Steel 2020. It was exciting mainly because Alireza is just 16 years old and playing so well. He was on 5.5 out of 8. He'd reached a rating of 2739 live rating, world number 19. And Carlsen was not in his element, 7 draws at the Tata Steel, then a win against Vitugov in round 8. And Alireza had the white pieces, so everyone was really looking forward to it, whether Alireza could make an upset. Also, there was this World Blitz incident, which you can look up over here, that there was this controversy entire thing. So when the game began, it was very exciting. And one of the things which Carlsen is really good at is understanding his opponents. He understands how his opponents are and then chooses his openings accordingly. He felt that Alireza as a player is very aggressive. He is ambitious. He wants to beat the world champion, and so Carlsen just chose e4, e5 and played this Berlin system. Very solid, and there was no doubt in his mind that Alireza would go for a line like this rook e1, very solid for a draw, because he understands Alireza as a player. And the youngster did play d3, and Carlsen after the game said he was very happy to see this move. Why? Because after a move d6 which Carlsen made, his idea is to keep all the pieces on the board. The more the pieces, the more non-theoretical kind of stuff. Even in this position there's a lot of theory, but you can always make move like bishop e7, a6 is possible, you can castle, you can vary your moves, and this is what Carlsen wanted more in this position. So c3 was played by Alireza. Against Fedosiev, the youngster had gone c4, that was at World Blitz. But anyway, c3 is a fine move. a6, bishop a4, bishop e7, castles, rook e1 and rook e8, and you will realize that we are slowly moving into the Ruy Lopez territory, and in fact we actually move into the main line after h3, b5, bishop c2, bishop b7, d4, and this is actually one of the main positions of Ruy Lopez. And you may say how the exact position came. That was because usually what white does is he plays d4 in one go. Here he played d3 and d4, he took one extra move, but at the same time he would go bishop b3 and bishop c2, but here he went bishop c2 in one move. So one move loss was compensated by one move gain, and so we reached the exact position. Now this is such a well-known position. Carlsen played g6, and here you have certain similarities to the Breyer, especially after black's next move, knight to b8. Fantastic move by Carlsen, but nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, whoever plays this system knows knight b8 to d7 is a very common maneuver, so that you free your c5 c pawn to move ahead. Now a little bit of a comment on the move a3. I feel like this move is not really the best, or you can still say the move is fine, but after knight b8 you really don't want to play what Alireza played, which was d5, because then the move a3 and d5 just don't go well together. I want to explain this. Say b4, I think this was much better try. You can put your bishop on b2 next and then play for the move c4. I think Alireza should have done that. It makes use of the move a3. When you go d5 and when Carlsen makes the move c6, which is very logical, you really want to fortify your structure here, with the move c4, b3. And at that point, it doesn't matter whether your pawn is on a3 or a2. That's the reason why, if instead of a3, let's say you go d5, knight b8, b3, c6, c4, I like this position much more for white. What will happen is you will reach something similar to the game just with the fact that you have wasted a move a3, which was completely not useful. a3, knight b8, d5, c6, excellent break in the center. I mean, if you were to take here and after bishop c6, black has no problems. He will get in the break d5 at some point and he'll be doing great. c4 was a logical move, and Alireza figured that if black wants to, take on c4, and you really can't take here because then d5 is hanging. So, but you go dc, bishop c6, and now knight c4, and this is different. This is already very different because now d5 won't be easy to achieve. The e5 pawn is hanging and the knight on c4 is really well placed. So Carlsen played knight bd7, a4, queen c7, b3, and now the structure which I had mentioned about, where this center is fortified by the pawns, has actually been reached. So then why this position should be bad? Now it all boils down to one tempo. Carlsen did rook c8 here, and the point is we often reach this position after b3 with white to move, and here white is able to make the move bishop a3, and you will realize that if now rook c8, I can play bishop d3, simply taking care of my entire structure. And here the position is complex, maybe white is still fighting for an edge. In the game you will see that when rook e8 was played, now a move like bishop d3 makes no sense, because after take, you have queen c3 suddenly attacking this rook and the bishop, and you lose the game. The bishop is not on a3. So this one tempo difference comes up in so many lines now. Threat is now cd5 and to take this bishop. So white went rook a2, and now Magnus played bc, and you will see that dc6 would have been nice. As we had mentioned, bishop c6, knight c4, the knight gets to a good square here. But once again, the tactics, this is what Carlsen had calculated, d5, ed, knight d5, and this knight is going to fork at c3 only because the rook came to a2. Otherwise, e5 pawn was hanging. These are the little things that are the drawbacks of just being one tempo down, and Magnus made use of them beautifully. He he played a5, very nice move, making way for the bishop to come to a6. Knight f1 was played by Firouzja, bishop a6. In this position, I just saw that Lupulescu, who annotated the game for Chessbase, mentioned knight b1 is a better square for the knight. Well, you can say relatively better, but positionally black is doing great. Bishop a6, knight e3, knight c5, knight d2, cd, and you will see that this bishop is beautiful. Knights are excellently placed, attacking the pawn on e4, and now getting in one more piece into the play with rook b8. Bishop a3, queen d8, queen f3, and now I like how Carlsen activates his only piece which is not in the game. He could play directly bishop h6, but he decides first h5 so that he gains more space, can clamp the pawns further with h4, and now bishop h6. And the green mark actually shows just how active each of black pieces are. They are beautifully placed, and this is the magic of Magnus. He didn't do anything special, but he didn't do anything stupid as well. He just kept making good moves. Rook b1 takes, rook takes, king g7, another fine little move, defending the knight so that at some point the queen could move in this direction. Knight f1, and now h4, fixing the pawns, and now bishop comes to f4. You can see how Alireza doesn't really have a plan. He's continuously moving his pieces from f1 to e3, his knight. Queen c7 was played by Magnus, and now g3. I think Alireza lost his cool here, but if you keep moving your knight again and again, white is going to make black is going to make progress. You know, the knight is coming to g5, and now the other knight jumps to f6, and this is just an example of how black is completely better. So g3, takes, bishop h6, h4, and now Magnus sort of started to reap the harvest. He took the pawn on a4, got his queen in, and these two bishops are beautiful on the diagonals. Also the rook down the c file is amazing. Queen f2, he took, the knight on d2 was hanging, so he had to do something, and now came bishop takes f1. In fact, more accurate was knight g4, because after king f3 you have rook c3 and you can't take this knight. Bishop c8 is a mate, and if you go back to g2 you have rook c2 winning this piece sooner or later. Well, bishop f1 was played by Carlsen, but it was slightly inaccurate, because after bishop f1, king f1, bishop d2, you have bishop e5 with this some kind of a pin here, and then after bishop c3, which looks most logical, rook c1 forks this bishop. But okay, black can play, will win this position. He can now take on g3 or even take on e4, and he's just winning. So Carlsen won this game after bishop f1. If knight takes, e4 is hanging, and so he was a piece up. Alireza resigned the game, and that's how Magnus won. What I really liked is Magnus's handling of this entire structure of Ruy Lopez. How he went with his knight back to b8, put it on d7, broke with c6, and then he did nothing special as such, but he understood the position just much better than his opponent. While Alireza would clearly not be happy with the fact that he added the move a3 and also played d5. If he didn't do both of this, he would have been much better. I think a very good way to improve your Ruy Lopez would be to study such games, to understand the structures, what's going on, and you know, more than lines, it's all about these ideas. We also have a DVD in Chess Base by Fabiano Caruana on 3-part series on the Ruy Lopez. You can buy it from the icon here, and I think it will be very useful for you. The link to purchase is also given in the description. To learn such openings, which are really important from top players, can really improve your game. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's see what Carlsen has in store for us. 4 more rounds to go. I have a feeling that this will be another tournament victory for him. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Thank you.